Not only is the Trump Department of Justice absolutely dropping the ball when it comes to the Epstein files, telling us that we should just move on from this, that they're not going to release anything to us despite promising to be the most transparent administration in American history, but also they're dropping the ball when it comes to just what kind of cases they're deciding to continue to pursue. This is Dr. Kirk Moore, and he is a hero. And I'm going to explain how this hero doctor is currently being prosecuted by the current Trump Department of Justice and how it's an absolute travesty of justice. I'm going to do that right now on American Advocates. This story is not getting nearly enough attention right now. It's being overshadowed, obviously, by the Epstein file case. But this is involving the Trump Department of Justice. And now it's just a twofold problem. Not only are they denying the American people what they want with Epstein, but they're pursuing this case. Utah lawmakers join rally for plastic surgeon accused of destroying $28,000 in COVID-19 vaccines. Now, thankfully, Republican lawmakers know better than to go after this. So, according to this article, Republican lawmakers, including the Speaker of the Utah House, stood with about 60 demonstrators at the Orangey Hatch U.S. Courthouse on Monday just before the trial was to begin for a plastic surgeon charged with running a COVID-19 fraud scheme. This article right here also points out that Dr. Kirk Moore was accused of falsifying vaccine records, and he's going to trial. Between October 2021 and September 2022, federal prosecutors say Moore and some members of his staff destroyed more than 28,000 of COVID-19 vaccines and distributed at least 1,937 fraudulent vaccination cards without administering a vaccine in exchange for cash or required donations, according to a 2023 U.S. Attorney's Office news release and court documents. Dr. Kirk Moore, at the request of parents, also gave saline shots to minors so that the minors would think they were receiving the vaccine, according to prosecutors. This is the official justice.gov website discussing the case, citing $28,000 of COVID-19 vaccines destroyed, hundreds, if not thousands, of vaccination record cards fraudulently completed and distributed, and minors injected with saline shots. The Justice.gov website says, by allegedly falsifying vaccine cards and administering saline shots to children instead of COVID-19 vaccines, not only did this provider endanger the health and well-being of a vulnerable population, but also undermined public trust and the integrity of federal healthcare programs, said Kurt L. Mueller, special agent in charge with the Department of Health and Human Services. I mean, we have the benefit of hindsight now when it comes to this. We know now in the past that this entire COVID-19 thing was a disaster and that these COVID-19 vaccines were possibly, at the very least, dangerous. And more research is coming out now pointing to that. Why is this case still happening? This is an interview shared by Brianna Morello. I recommend giving her a follow. I follow her on X, and she puts out great stuff. I think she used to work with Fox News, actually, and she's doing her own thing now. But this is a 2-minute interview between her and Dr. Kirk Moore. I'm going to play a good minute and a half of it because everything he says is so spot on.
You know, we're talking about people who were members of the military, who were potentially going to lose their jobs if they didn't take these experimental COVID vaccines. Other individuals who were on lists to receive transplants because their lives depended on it. They also wanted them to participate in this experimental COVID vaccine process, and they didn't want to take part in it. And also cancer patients who didn't want to take part in it. I mean, these are people you've helped, and you've helped make sure that they didn't die. I mean, I think you've probably saved dozens of lives because of all of this, and yet the government's going after you. What do you make of all of this?
Well, I just think it's really, it's just crazy to me to think that we're supposed to be forced to give somebody an injection for something that had never been tested against what it was supposed to be done, never been shown to prevent transmission, never been shown to actually prevent people from getting it. All the studies now have come out to show that. But on top of that, I mean, the first thing for me was when you get a product, you have a product sheet that comes out, and then you unfold this thing, and it's supposed to give you the ingredients, it's supposed to give you the chemical structure, it's supposed to give you the studies that were done to perform it and everything else. Well, this thing was a 24 by 30 inch piece of paper front and back that said intentionally left blank. And so you had no clue I mean, you're showing those vials right there, COVID-19 vaccine. You have no clue what's in there. I mean, there's no list of ingredients. There's nothing in there that, gives you any indication whatsoever what it is that you're doing. And the whole medical community just kind of followed this thing. They just took it hook, line, and sinker and just said, oh, the government says it's safe and effective. Therefore, here, raise my hand. I'll do it for you. And just like you said, it was an experimental thing. It was done completely outside of any of the typical regulations or rules that were involved. I mean, we had to declare an emergency that has now been extended until 2029? How do we have an emergency for 9 years on something that isn't even affecting anybody anymore?
What it looks like to me here is that we have a doctor who followed his conscience rather than the money or rather than government influence and pressure from authorities to do this kind of work. A lot of doctors, just like he said, went completely along with it during this time. Here, take the vaccine, take the next vaccine, take the third booster, take the fourth booster, take the fifth booster, perfectly safe. This guy knew better. And there are other doctors out there like this. Trust me on that. I know. There were other doctors across America who were like him, who decided this is a bunch of nonsense. I'm not going to do this. I swore an oath to do no harm. And I can't be certain that these vaccines that have only been out for 3 years aren't going to harm people. And now, as it turns out, like I said, there's a lot of questionable research coming out. People are more willing to speak the truth now that we've distanced ourselves from this pandemic, and now that restrictions and censorship on the whole ordeal has been lifted widely, the truth is starting to come to the light. So why is this case still happening with the DOJ? It's the Trump DOJ. I mean, it's not the Biden DOJ. It's the Trump DOJ. Why is this still happening? This case should be dropped immediately. And specifically under Brianna's video here on X, I like this top comment here. Martin's tweets, so Pam Bondi's DOJ is prosecuting heroes while covering up for pedos. Am I getting it right? To which she responds, spot on. This is a good man. Yeah, I mean, this guy's a hero. This is a news report from Utah local news where he speaks after, I believe, his first day in court for prosecution. Take a look.
I'm Julia Sandor in Salt Lake City, where people gathered outside the federal courthouse in support of Dr. Kirk Moore. According to the indictment, Moore is accused of destroying hundreds of doses of COVID-19 vaccines, distributing COVID-19 vaccine cards without giving the actual vaccine, and giving saline shots to minors. The federal grand jury in Salt Lake City returned an indictment back in January of 2023, charging a Utah plastic surgeon, Dr. Kirk Moore, his medical corporation, and 3 co-defendants for allegedly trying to defraud the government and CDC. It states they ran a COVID-19 vaccine scheme out of Plastic Surgery Institute of Utah. One of Dr. Moore's co-defendants, Kristen Anderson, spoke to supporters outside ahead of the trial.
I'm feeling optimistic and grateful for the support, for everybody that's showing up and on behalf of us, and to help fight for our medical freedoms.
Among the speakers were previous patients, House Speaker Mike Schultz, and Dr. Moore's son. Just before heading inside the courthouse, Dr. Moore walked through the crowd.
It just warms my heart to see you guys here. Thank you.
According to the indictment, it says they allegedly disposed of more than 1,900 COVID-19 vaccines, which cost more than $28,000. It says Moore began receiving vaccine doses in October 2021. The documents say Anderson would screen fraudulent vax seekers, then required them to make a $50 donation for each appointment to get a fake vaccination. It says that donation was linked back to the plastic surgery business. The indictment also states that they would administer saline shots to minors, quote, at the request of their parents so that the minor children would think they were actually receiving a COVID-19 vaccine. While people at the rally did not deny those claims, they instead said he saved hundreds of people by not administering the vaccine.
My only issue with all of that is that only $28,000 worth of them were destroyed, and that he's one of too few doctors in America that actually followed his conscience and followed the real science and did what he thought was best. I wish there had been more doctors like him during those times, and quite honestly, I wish reports would come out saying that millions of dollars of these vaccines were destroyed. But what are your thoughts and opinions on all of this? Is the Trump Department of Justice just dropping the ball at this point? Pam Bondi needs to resign, in my opinion. How about you? What do you think? Because the fact that, like that comment said under that video from on X, protecting pedos and prosecuting heroes, is this what the Trump Department of Justice is all about? This is a massive fail. Let me know what you think, though. Comment down below. Give this video a like for the love of God, and subscribe to American Advocates for more.